She wore a red satin dress every year. Same day, same hospital, same memory that wouldn't let her go. The waiting room was nearly empty at 3:47 p.m. That's how she wanted it. Fewer people to see her hands moving through the air, signing to 3 daughters who weren't there anymore. "I'm sorry," she signed to the empty space beside her. "I tried. I'm so sorry." His triplet daughters saw her first. 7 years old, chattering in sign language while he filled out paperwork. Then they went silent, all 3 staring at the woman in red, whose hands were speaking to ghosts. Before he could stop them, they walked over. "Why are you sad?" They signed. The woman looked up, tears stray. She stared at 3 identical girls, alive, healthy, 7 years old, and something cracked in her chest. She signed back slowly. "Today is my daughter's birthday. I lost my triplets too." His breath stopped. He knew this woman. 5 years ago, in this same hospital, his wife had been in the bed next to hers. Both of them in labor with triplets. Both of them fighting for their babies' lives. His wife survived. This woman's didn't. And now his daughters were standing in front of her, like living proof of everything she'd lost. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world are you tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. David Chun had perfected the art of avoiding November 12th for 4 years running. He'd scheduled the girls' annual checkups for different weeks, different months if he could manage it. Anything to avoid walking into Mercy General on the anniversary. But this year, the only available slot had been today, 3:30 p.m., routine physical exams, nothing that should trigger memories. Except the moment he walked through those doors, he was back, 5 years ago. Emily's hand gripping his so hard his bones, HD. The monitor beeping, the doctor's concerned face, the sudden chaos when her heart stopped beating. "Dad." Mia tugged his sleeve. "You're squeezing too hard." He looked down, his daughter's hand in his white-knuckled. He loosened his grip immediately. "Sorry, Bug, just thinking about Mom," Zoe signed. Always the direct one. No point lying. The girls knew what today was. They'd insisted on visiting Emily's grave this morning, leaving flowers they picked themselves. She died here. Lily signed quietly. On this day, she did. David signed back. "But you 3 were born here too, good and bad, all mixed together." That's when he saw her. The woman in red, sitting alone by the windows, hands moving in deliberate sign language, speaking to no one. His mother had done that sometimes after his father died. Signed conversations to the empty air, keeping the language alive even when no one was there to answer. But there was something different about this woman, something desperate in her movements, like she was apologizing over and over. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." "That lady knows our language," Mia signed, fascinated. "She's talking to invisible people," Zoe added. Lily watched with wide, knowing eyes. "She's crying, Dad, like you cry in the garage when you think we're asleep." David's chest tightened. He thought he'd been more careful. "Girls, leave her alone." "She wants privacy," but Lily was already walking over. Then Mia, then Zoe. 3 identical blonde girls in matching purple jackets, moving as a unit the way they always did. David started after them, but his feet wouldn't move. Something held him frozen. Maybe it was the date. Maybe it was the way the woman's hands moved. Maybe it was the flash of recognition that hadn't quite connected yet. He watched his daughters approach the stranger, watch them sign a question. Watch the woman's face transform from grief to shock to something that looked like pain and wonder all at once. Then the woman signed something back, and Mia's hand flew to her mouth. Zoe took a step back. Lily started crying. David's feet finally worked. He crossed the waiting room in 6 long strides, reaching for his daughters, ready to pull them away from whatever had upset them. Then he got close enough to see the woman's face, and the world tilted. He knew this face. 5 years ago, through a window in a hospital door, another pregnant woman, also carrying triplets, also in labor. They'd made eye contact once in the hallway. Both terrified, both hopeful. A moment of solidarity between strangers about to become parents. He'd smiled at her. She'd smiled back. Then they'd been wheeled to separate rooms. And David had never seen her again until now. Elena. The name came out of nowhere. He didn't know how he knew it. Maybe Emily had told him. Maybe a nurse had mentioned it. But he knew. Elena's hands moved slowly, carefully. You were in the room next to ours, 5 years ago. Your wife. She held my hand in the hallway. She said we'd get through it together. Memory crashed over David like a wave. Emily squeezing another woman's hand through their contractions. We're in this together, she'd said. Both of us. Both of our triplets. We'll all be okay. But they hadn't both been okay. Your babies, David signed, his hand shaking. I heard the nurses. They said the babies didn't. 17 minutes, Elena signed. Her face was composed, but tears still streaked down her cheeks. Sophia, Isabella, and Grace lived for 17 minutes. I got to hold them, all three at once. Then they were gone. David's knees nearly buckled. I'm so sorry. I saw the nurses celebrating later. Elena continued. Her signs mechanical now, like she'd told the story too many times. They said both sets of triplets made it. I thought they meant all 6 babies. I thought your wife and I had both won the lottery. She paused. I didn't know she died. Heart failure. David signed. During delivery, the babies were fine. Emily never got to see them outside the NICU. They stood there, 2 strangers bound by the same catastrophic day, staring at each other while their daughters watched. Lily tugged David's sleeve. Dad, her babies died on our birthday. David nodded slowly. That's why she comes here. Mia signed understanding, dawning to talk to them. Every year, Elena confirmed. November 12th. I sit in this waiting room and tell them about their birthday, what they would have been doing if they'd lived. This year, they would be 7, same as you. Zoe stepped forward and took Elena's hand. Just held it, a 7-year-old offering comfort, the only way she knew how. Something broke in Elena's expression. She pulled Zoe into a hug, then Mia, then Lily, gathering all 3 girls against her as if they were the most precious things in the world. David watched his daughters comfort this stranger who wasn't really a stranger at all. This woman who'd shared the worst day of his life, who'd lost everything while he'd lost almost everything. Can I buy you coffee? The words came out before David could stop them. Or tea, whatever you want. I think we should talk. Elena looked up at him over his daughters' blonde heads. Why? Because I think we're the only 2 people in the world who understand what November 12th really means, David said simply. And I'm tired of going through it alone. Elena's eyes filled with fresh tears. She nodded. The hospital cafeteria smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee, but the corner table by the windows caught afternoon light in a way that felt almost peaceful. David carried a tray with 4 hot chocolates. The girls had vetoed coffee, insisting Elena needed chocolate. They sat. The triplets arranged themselves around Elena like they'd known her forever. Me on her left, Zoe on her right. Lily across the table, but leaning forward, hands ready to sign. Tell us about your daughters, Mia signed. Not a question, a command. His most direct daughter, never one for small talk. Elena's hands hesitated. Are you sure you want to hear about babies who died? You want to talk about them? When someone dies, the worst thing is when people stop saying their names. David's throat tightened. his mother's words coming out of his youngest daughter's hands. Elena smiled, sad but genuine. Sophia, Isabella, and Grace. I named them after my grandmother, my mother, and my best friend from college. I wanted them to have strong names. Names that meant something. What were they like? Zoe asked. Tiny, Elena signed. So tiny. Sophia was 2 pounds 3 ounces. Isabella was 2 pounds even. Grace was the smallest, 1 pound 15 ounces. They were born at 27 weeks. The doctor said they had a chance, but their lungs weren't developed enough. She paused, her hands trembling slightly. I held all 3 of them together. Just once, they put them on my chest, skin to skin. Isabella wrapped her tiny fingers around my thumb. Sophia made this little sound, almost like a sigh. Grace just looked at me with these huge, dark eyes. For 17 minutes, I was a mother to 3 perfect girls. Then they were gone. The cafeteria noise faded away. David watched Elena's hands move, watched his daughters absorb the story with the seriousness children bring to matters of life and death. Our mom died the same day. Mia signed carefully. But we lived. Does that make you sad? No. Elena's response was immediate, fierce. It makes me grateful. Every baby that survives is a miracle. Your mom gave everything so you 3 could live. That's not sad. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. But you're crying, Lily pointed out. Elena wiped her cheeks. Sometimes we cry because things are beautiful and sad at the same time. I'm sad your mom isn't here to see how wonderful you are, and I'm grateful you're here at all. David found his voice. What happened after? Elena's expression hardened. My husband blamed me, said my body failed, that I was defective. We've been trying for 12 years before I finally got pregnant. When I lost them, he said. It proved I was never meant to be a mother. She signed sharply, anger bleeding through. 6 months later, he filed for divorce. Took everything, the house, the savings, everything we'd built, left me with medical debt and nothing else. That's terrible. Mia signed outraged. It was, Elena agreed. For a long time, I believed him. Believed I was broken. Then I met Dr. Priscilla. She was my OB-GYN. She told me none of it was my fault. That sometimes babies die, and it's nobody's fault. It just is. She was right. David signed. Emily's heart stopped for no reason. Perfect pregnancy, perfect health, then gone. The doctors ran every test. They couldn't explain it. Sometimes terrible things just happen. Elena met his eyes. Something passed between them. Recognition, understanding. The specific grief of losing someone for no reason. No explanation. No closure. Just gone. Doctor, Priscilla helped me start over. Elena continued. Got me a job here at the hospital. I coordinate the NICU family support program now. Help families navigate those first terrifying weeks when their babies are fighting to survive. David's hands stilled. You work in the NICU after losing your daughters there. Because I lost them there, Elena corrected. Every baby that goes home alive, every family that gets to stay together, it makes Sophia, Isabella, and Grace's deaths mean something. I couldn't save my daughters, but I can help save other people's babies. That's the bravest thing I've ever heard, David signed honestly. Or the most masochistic, Elena signed with a rice smile. My therapist isn't sure which. Despite everything, David laughed. I have a therapist too. She says I use engineering problems to avoid processing emotions. Do you? Absolutely. David signed. Why feel feelings when I can calculate load-bearing stress on bridge supports? What do you do? Elena asked. Structural engineer. I design bridges. Been at Morrison and Fletcher for 8 years now. It's steady work, good for supporting 3 kids on one income. He paused. My mother lives with us. She's deaf, has been since birth. She helps with the girls while I work. That's how they learned sign language so young. Elena signed, understanding dawning. It's not just about communication, it's about family. It's their first language, David confirmed. They spoke with their hands before they spoke with their mouths. Mom insisted. Said if I was going to live in her world, my children would too. Your mother sounds incredible. She is. After Emily died, I would have drowned without her. Literally. 3 newborns in the NICU, a funeral to plan, a wife to bury, and I was falling apart. Mom moved in, took over, and basically ran my life for 6 months until I could function again. Elena nodded slowly. I didn't have that. No family, no support system, just Dr. Priscilla and a therapist who saw me twice a week so I wouldn't hurt myself. Lily climbed into Elena's lap without asking, just wrapped her small arms around Elena's waist and held on. Elena froze, then slowly, carefully hugged the child back. We could be your family. Lily signed against Elena's chest. If you want, we're good at being family. David watched his youngest daughter offer this broken stranger exactly what she needed most. Acceptance without conditions, love without questions. I'd like that. Elena signed over Lily's head, tears streaming freely now. They stayed in the cafeteria for 2 hours, talking, signing, sharing grief and hope in equal measure. The girls asked 100 questions. Elena answered each one with patience. As the sun started setting, casting orange light through the windows, Mia signed. You should come to dinner at our house. Grandma makes the best dumplings. She wants to meet you. David started to object. Girls. I never have plans on November 12th. I spend the day here, then go home and sit alone. That's been the pattern for 5 years. Then break the pattern. Zoe signed. Come, have dumplings with us. Elena looked at David. Is that okay? David thought about saying no, about maintaining boundaries, about protecting his daughters from getting too attached to someone who might disappear from their lives as quickly as she'd appeared. But then he thought about spending another November 12th trying to pretend the date didn't matter. About his daughters watching him fake normally while drowning in memory about this woman who understood his grief in a way no one else could. Yes, he signed. Come, have dinner with us. Sarah Chin took one look at Elena and pulled her into a crushing hug. You were there that night. Sarah signed when she finally let go. Her hands moved with sharp precision. Decades of sign language making her fluent and fast. I remember you. You were the one screaming in the hallway when they told you the babies didn't make it. Elena flinched. I'm sorry. I know I was loud. You had every right to scream. Sarah signed fiercely. You just lost everything. Anyone who judged you for that can go straight to hell. David watched his mother claim this stranger as one of them with typical Sarah bluntness. No small talk, no pleasantries. Just straight to the truth. Mom, this is Elena Morrison. Elena, this is my mother, Sarah. The girls told me about you. Sarah signed to Elena. Said you lost triplets the same day Emily died. Said you work at the hospital now, helping NICU families. I do, Elena confirmed. That takes guts. Sarah signed with approval. Most people would run from that place. You went back. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Elena signed honestly. After my husband left, after I lost everything, a hospital was the only place that felt like home. At least there, the grief made sense. Sarah studied Elena for a long moment, her dark eyes sharp and assessing. Then she nodded, some internal decision made. You'll stay for dinner. I made dumplings and tea and too much rice because the girls keep insisting they'll eat adult portions but never do. Sarah turned to David. Set an extra place. It wasn't a question. David set the extra place. Dinner was chaotic in the best way. The girls competed for Elena's attention, signing stories over each other, demonstrating their school projects, showing off their books. Sarah observed from the kitchen, occasionally signing comments that made everyone laugh. Elena fit into the chaos like she'd always been there. She answered questions patiently, complimented Mia's drawing, helped Zoe with her math homework, listened to Lily's elaborate story about the class hamster with complete seriousness. David watched from his spot at the table, marveling at how natural it felt. This stranger, who wasn't a stranger, sitting in his dining room, signing with his daughters like family. After dinner, the girls begged Elena to see their room. David followed them upstairs, watching Elena take in the explosion of toys, books, and clothes that constituted organized chaos in their world. "This is my bed," Mia signed, pointing to the left side. "Zoe's is in the middle. Lily's is on the right. We used to sleep in one big pile when we were little, but Grandma said we needed our own space. We still pile up sometimes," Lily admitted. "When we have bad dreams, what do you dream about?" Elena asked gently. "Mom," Zoe signed. "Sometimes we can't remember her face anymore. Dad has pictures, but it's not the same as remembering." Elena sat on Mia's bed, and all three girls immediately climbed on with her. David lingered in the doorway, not wanting to interrupt. "I dream about my daughters, too," Elena signed. "Even though I only knew them for 17 minutes. I dream about what they would have looked like growing up, whether they would have had my blonde hair or their father's dark curls, whether they would have been loud or quiet, active or bookish." "Do the dreams make you sad?" Lily asked. "Sometimes," Lena admitted. "But sometimes they make me happy because for those few minutes while I'm dreaming, they're alive. I get to be their mother. That's a gift, even if it's just in my sleep." Mia leaned her head on Elena's shoulder. "Our dad cries in the garage. He thinks we don't know, but we hear him sometimes." David's chest tightened. He thought he was being so careful. "He cries because he misses your mom," Elena signed. "That's what love looks like. When someone matters so much that losing them breaks your heart. Your dad's heart is broken, but he still shows up for you every day. That's what brave looks like." "Are you brave?" Zoe asked. "I'm trying to be." Elena signed. "Some days are easier than others. Today was hard because of the anniversary, but then I met you three and that made it easier." "You can come back," Lily signed seriously. "Whenever days are hard, we're good at making things easier." Elena's eyes filled with tears again. She pulled all three girls into a hug, and David's throat closed completely. Later, after the girls were in bed, David and Elena sat on the back porch with tea, November night air crisp and cold. Sarah had tactfully disappeared to her room, giving them privacy. "Your daughters are incredible," Elena signed. "They liked you," David signed back. "They don't usually take to strangers that fast. It took our last babysitter 3 weeks to get Lily to even look at her." "I'm not really a stranger, though," Elena said quietly. "We're connected by the worst day of both our lives. That creates a bond whether we want it or not." David nodded slowly. "For 5 years, I've been trying to forget November 12th. Schedule around it. Pretend it's just another day. But it never works. The date hits me like a truck every time." "Me, too," Elena signed. "I come to the hospital, sit in that waiting room, have my annual conversation with ghosts, then go home and try not to fall apart. Sheer was supposed to be the same. But then your daughters appeared. I'm glad they did." David signed honestly. "I'm glad we found each other again. It sounds crazy, but I feel less alone than I have in 5 years." "Me too," Elena signed, her eyes bright. like maybe grief doesn't have to be solitary. Maybe we can carry it together. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the kind that only comes when words aren't necessary. "Can I ask you something?" David signed carefully. "Anything. Why do you wear the red dress?" "Every year." Elena's hand stilled. She looked down at the satin fabric, running her fingers over it. "I bought it the week before I went into labor. Marcus and I were going to celebrate. Fancy dinner," announced the pregnancy to his business partners. "I never got to wear it. After the babies died, after Marcus left, I found it in the back of my closet. Still had the tags on it." She paused, choosing her signs carefully. "For a long time, I hated it. Hated what it represented. All those stupid plans that never happened. But then Priscilla said something that changed my perspective. She said the dress wasn't about the future that died. It was about the 17 minutes that lived. My daughters existed. They were real, and I deserved to mark their birthday in a way that matters. So, I wear the dress. I show up. I refuse to let their lives be erased just because they were short." David felt something crack in his chest. "That's beautiful or crazy," Elena signed with a small smile. "My therapist isn't sure which." "Definitely beautiful." David signed firmly. Elena looked at him, really looked at him, and David saw something shift in her expression, something that made his pulse quicken. "I should probably go." Elena signed, but she didn't stand up. "It's getting late, or you could stay." David signed before he could stop himself. "Guest room. No pressure. Just the girls would love to see you at breakfast." Elena's breath caught. "David, I know it's fast." David signed quickly. "I know we barely know each other, but feels right having you here. Like maybe this is what November 12th is supposed to be about now. Not just mourning what we lost, but celebrating what we found." Elena's hands trembled as she signed. "I'm scared." "Me too. What if this is a mistake? What if it's not?" They sat there on the porch, two broken people, considering the terrifying possibility of not being alone anymore. "Okay," Elena signed finally. "I'll stay." David's smile lit up the darkness. "Okay." That night, Elena slept in the guest room, surrounded by David's engineering books and the girls' artwork that had migrated from the fridge. She lay awake for hours, listening to the sounds of family through the walls. Sarah's soft snoring, the girls whispering to each other long after bedtime, David moving around in the master bedroom, probably working late like he'd admitted he often did. For the first time in 5 years, November 12th didn't end in lonely grief. It ended in a house full of people, impossibility, and hope. The next morning, Elena woke to 3 blonde girls jumping on her bed. "Breakfast?" Mia signed, bouncing dangerously close to Elena's head. "Grandma made pancakes," Zoe added. "With chocolate chips?" Lily finished. Elena laughed, pulling the covers over her head. "What time is it?" 7 a.m. All 3 signed together. "That's so early. It's Saturday." Mia signed as if that explained everything. "On Saturdays, we get pancakes. You have to come have pancakes with us. It's the rule." How could anyone argue with that logic? Elena followed the girls downstairs to find David at the stove, hair sticking up in 5 directions, wearing an apron that said, "Engineers do it with precision." Sarah sat at the table, coffee in hand, watching her son burn pancakes with obvious amusement. "Morning." David signed when he saw Elena. "I hope the girls didn't wake you too violently." "Only moderately violently." Elena signed back, smiling. "Dad burns pancakes," Lily announced cheerfully. "Every time Grandma makes him do it anyway because he needs to learn life skills." "I'm an engineer," David signed in mock protest. "I can design a bridge that holds 50 tons. Why can't I make a pancake? Different skill sets. Sarah signed, not looking up from her coffee. Also, you're impatient and refuse to wait for the edges to bubble. Elena settled into a chair, watching this family banter with their hands. The easy affection, the teasing, the way they moved around each other like a well-choreographed dance. This was what she'd lost when her daughters died. Not just babies, but the possibility of family, of belonging, of ordinary Saturday mornings with burnt pancakes and too much laughter. Elena's crying, Zoe observed. Happy crying, Elena signed quickly. This is just really nice. I haven't had a family breakfast in a long time. Sarah looked at her sharply, then signed. You're having family breakfast now. Get used to it. It wasn't a suggestion. Over the next weeks, Elena did get used to it. She started coming to Thursday dinners, then Saturday breakfasts, then Sunday afternoon park trips. The girls pulled her deeper into their orbit until she couldn't remember what her life had looked like before them. She taught them advanced sign language. They taught her how to play their elaborate make-believe games. She helped with homework. They helped her shop for furniture for her apartment, insisting she needed more color and fewer neutral tones. Your apartment looks like a hospital. Mia had signed bluntly. You need red and yellow and plants that aren't dying. So Elena bought red throw pillows, yellow curtains, plants that she actually watered. The girls approved. David was there through all of it, dropping the girls off at Elena's apartment after school when he had late meetings, texting her funny engineering jokes at 2 a.m. when they were both awake with insomnia, bringing her coffee at the hospital when he knew she'd had a hard day with a family who'd lost a baby. They didn't talk about what they were becoming, both too scared to name it, but Sarah knew. You're in love with her. She signed to David one evening while Elena was upstairs helping the girls with a project. Mom, don't lie to your deaf mother. Sarah signed sharply. I can see it in how you look at her, like she's the first person who's made you feel alive in 5 years. David's hands faltered. It's too soon. Emily has been gone 5 years. That's not too soon. That's you finally letting herself live again. What if I mess it up? What if the girls get attached and then she leaves? The girls are already attached, Sarah signed. And so are you. The question isn't whether you love her. It's whether you're brave enough to do something about it. David thought about that conversation for days. Then, 6 weeks after that first November 12th, he invited Elena to his office. I want to show you something. He'd signed. His office was exactly what Elena expected. Clean desk, precise models of bridge designs, mathematical equations on white boards. But in the corner was something unexpected. A bulletin board covered in drawings. The girls made those. David signed, gesturing to the childish crayon sketches of bridges, buildings, families. After Emily died, I stopped displaying their artwork at home. Couldn't bear to see it. Reminded me too much of what she was missing. So, I brought it here. Started filling my office with their lives instead. Elena studied the drawings. Some were labeled Mommy and Daddy and Us. Others just showed 3 stick figures with blonde hair. The evolution of their understanding of family documented in crayon. Why are you showing me this? Elena signed. David took a deep breath. Because I want to add a new drawing, one Lily made last week. He pulled a paper from his desk drawer. 3 blonde stick figures holding hands with a taller figure in a red dress above it in Lily's careful 7-year-old handwriting. Our family. Elena's breath caught. I don't know what we're doing. David signed, his hand shaking slightly. I don't know if it's too fast, or too soon, or too complicated, but my daughters think you're family. My mother thinks you're family. And he paused. I think I'm falling in love with you. Elena's eyes filled with tears. David, you don't have to say it back. David signed quickly. I know it's a lot. I know we're both terrified, but I couldn't keep pretending I don't feel this. Every time you leave, I wish you were staying. Every time you're with the girls, I imagine this being permanent. Every time I see you, I think maybe November 12th didn't just take from us. Maybe it also gave us each other. Elena crossed the space between them, took his hands and hers, stilled his nervous signing. I love you too, she signed, using his hands to form the words. I've been terrified to admit it. Scared that wanting this meant betraying my daughter's memory. Scared that I don't deserve this kind of happiness after failing as a mother. You didn't fail, David signed fiercely. Your body didn't fail. The universe failed you, but you survived. You rebuilt. And now you're here teaching my daughters that loss doesn't have to be the end of the story. They kissed then, soft and tentative at first, then deeper. 5 years of grief and loneliness and fear melting into something that felt dangerously like hope. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were crying. What do we do now? Elena signed. We figure out together. No rush, no pressure, just together. Together? Elena agreed. They told the girls that weekend, sat them down in the living room with serious faces. We need to talk to you about something important, David signed. 3 pairs of eyes watched them with varying degrees of suspicion and excitement. Elena and I have become very close over the past weeks, David continued. You're dating, Mia interrupted. We know you hold hands when you think we're not looking. And you smile at each other all the time, Zoe added. And you kissed at Dad's office last week, Lily finished. Mrs. Chun from accounting told Grandma, and Grandma told us. David looked at Elena. So much for breaking it to them gently. Are you happy? Mia signed seriously. Both of you. Yes. Elena signed without hesitation. Very happy. David confirmed. Then that's good. Mia signed. Mama want you to be happy, Dad. She told us that before she died. Said if anything happened to her, we should make sure you didn't stay sad forever. David's throat closed. She said that all 3 girls nodded. She made us promise. Lily signed. Said we had to remind you to live, not just survive. Live. And Elena makes you live again, Zoe added. We can tell you laugh more. You don't cry in the garage as much. You eat breakfast instead of just drinking coffee. David pulled all 3 girls into a hug overcome. I love you 3 so much. We love you too, Dad. They signed against his chest. And we love Elena, so you should probably marry her eventually. But no rush, we're just saying. Elena burst out laughing. I'll keep that under advisement. The next year unfolded like a story Elena had stopped believing in. Slow romance, careful dating, Sunday dinners that turned into weekend night sleepovers that turned into, why do you even have your own apartment anymore? David proposed on November 12th, 1 year after they'd found each other again, back in the hospital waiting room. Same place, same time. But this time, the triplets weren't on it. They'd led Elena there under the pretense of visiting the NICU for a fundraiser event. But when Elena walked into the waiting room, she found David kneeling on the floor. The girl standing behind him holding a sign that said, Will you marry our dad? 1 year ago, I was sitting here trying to survive the worst day of my life. David signed, his hand shaking. Then 3 nosy girls decided to talk to a stranger, and everything changed. You changed everything, Elena. You taught my daughters that it's okay to love more than one mother. You taught me that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. You taught all of us that broken things can become beautiful. He opened small velvet box inside a simple ring with 3 small stones, sapphire, amethyst, and pearl. David signed for Sophia, Isabella, and Grace. I thought they should be part of this too. Elena sobbed, nodded, signed yes over and over while the girls cheered and jumped and Sarah appeared from around the corner with a camera. They married 6 months later in the hospital chapel. Small ceremony. Sarah walked Elena down the aisle, both of them signing "I love you" through tears. The triplets served as junior bridesmaids, their dresses the same red as Elena's anniversary dress. They signed the entire ceremony for the deaf guests, hands moving through promises of love and family with perfect precision when David and Elena exchanged vows. They did it in 2 languages spoken for the hearing guests, signed for each other and for the people who brought them together. "I promise to honor Emily's memory," Elena signed. "I promise to honor Sophia, Isabella, and Grace." David signed back. "I promise to love your daughters like they're mine." They already are. "I promise that November 12th will always matter, but now it means meeting you too." When they kissed, the triplets cheered so loudly. 3 nurses came running to see what emergency had occurred. There was no emergency, just joy. 2 years into their marriage, Elena took a pregnancy test in the bathroom of their now shared home, while David made breakfast and the girls got ready for school. Positive. Terror and hope war in her chest. After everything with Sophia, Isabella, and Grace, the idea of being pregnant again felt impossible, terrifying, miraculous. She found David in the kitchen, slid the test across the counter. He stared at her. "Are you okay?" He signed carefully. "I'm terrified." Elena signed honestly. "After last time, after losing them, I don't know if I can survive that again." "You won't be alone this time," David signed, pulling her close. "Whatever happens, we face it together. All of us. What if something goes wrong? What if everything goes right?" Elena pressed her face into his chest. "I'm so scared." "Me too, but I'm also happy. Is that okay?" "Yes." Elena signed against his shirt. "We're allowed to be both." The pregnancy was carefully monitored. Weekly ultrasounds, monthly specialist visits. Elena's NICU colleagues hovering protectively. The girls were beside themselves with excitement, planning nursery colors and baby names with impressive dedication. At 20 weeks, they learned the gender. "Healthy baby boy," the ultrasound tech announced. David's hand crushed Elena's. Elena couldn't breathe. A son? They were having a son. That night, lying in bed with David's hand on her growing belly, Elena signed in the darkness. "I'm not forgetting them. Sophia, Isabella, and Grace. This baby doesn't replace them." "I know," David signed back. "Emily either. They're all part of our story. This little guy is just adding to it." "Growing the family," Elena agreed. "Growing it," David confirmed. At 37 weeks, Elena's water broke during a Saturday morning pancake attempt. David burned 3 in a row from distraction before Sarah took over and ordered him to get Elena to the hospital immediately. The same hospital, different wing, different outcome. Labor lasted 14 hours. David held her hand through every contraction, signed encouragement when she couldn't speak. Sarah kept the triplets calm in the waiting room, all of them too anxious to sit still, and then at 11:43 p.m., Oliver David Chin entered the world. Pink, screaming, perfect. They placed him on Elena's chest, and she sobbed so hard she couldn't breathe. David wrapped his arms around both of them, tears streaming down his face. "He's here," Elena signed with shaking hands. "He's really here. He's perfect," David signed back. "He's ours," Elena whispered. The triplets burst into the room minutes later, Sarah trying and failing to contain their excitement. "Can we see him?" Me, a sign, trying to whisper and failing spectacularly. "Can we hold him?" Zoe added. "Is he really ours?" Lily asked, eyes huge. David lifted Oliver carefully, showing them. "Meet your baby brother." Three blonde heads crowded close. Oliver yawned, tiny fist waving. "He's so small," Mia breathed. "We were that small once," Zoe signed. "Can we teach him sign language?" Lily asked. "You'll be his first teachers." Elena signed, still crying. Sarah pulled out her phone, capturing the moment. David and Elena in the hospital bed, Oliver between them. Three triplets crowded close, all signing family at the camera. Later, after the room cleared and Oliver slept peacefully in his bassinet, David and Elena held hands across the hospital bed. 5 years ago, we were in rooms next to each other. Elena signed, losing everything. And now we're here, David signed. With everything, not despite the loss, Elena added, but including it. Because grief taught us how precious this is. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their sons sleep, listening to their daughters giggling with Sarah in the hallway. Two people who'd lost triplets on the same day, who'd found each other 5 years later in the same place where everything ended, who'd chosen to build a family from broken pieces and brave hearts. The photo wall in her home told the whole story. Emily's portrait, smiling and beautiful. Sophia, Isabella, and Grace, and their tiny Nikki photos, each one labeled with their 17 minutes of life. Then the new photos, Elena and David's wedding, the triplets teaching Oliver to sign, family dinners, birthday parties, ordinary moments made extraordinary by the fact that they existed at all. Not replacing, not forgetting, just growing. On Oliver's first birthday, they returned to the hospital chapel. All 6 of them, David, Elena, the triplets, now 8 and terrifyingly smart, and Oliver, babbling and trying to sign more with chubby hands. They lit candles, 1 for Emily, 3 for Sophia, Isabella, and Grace, 1 for the grief they'd carried, 1 for the hope they'd found. "Thank you," Elena signed to the memory of Sophia, Isabella, and Grace, for teaching me that 17 minutes of love is still love. That being a mother isn't about how long your children live, but about how deeply you love them. "Thank you," David signed Emily's photo, "for loving me first, for teaching me what family means, for making sure I knew that moving forward was a betrayal." The triplets signed their own messages. Mia thanked Emily for making Dad who he is. Zoe thanked the baby sisters she never met for bringing Elena into our lives. Lily thanked everyone for teaching us that families can grow even after they break. Oliver reached for the candles, signing light with his small hands the way his sisters had taught him. They blew out the candles together. This time, when Helena left the hospital on November 12th, she left smiling, left holding her husband's hand, left surrounded by children who called her mom, left carrying a baby boy who existed because she'd been brave enough to try again, left with a heart that was scarred but full, broken but healed, changed forever but finally beautifully whole. She left home. If this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, please don't let it end here. Let it remind you that loss doesn't write the end of your story, that grief can live alongside joy, that the people who understand our deepest pain sometimes become our greatest healers, that broken things, when placed together carefully, can become something even more beautiful than they were before. Subscribe and be part of our Heart Echo Stories family, where every story echoes with truth, with hope, with a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone. Because sometimes the right person appears exactly when we need the most, not to erase our pain, but to help us carry it. Not to replace what we've lost, but to remind us that our hearts are big enough for both grief and love. Share this story with someone who needs hope today, because the most powerful stories aren't the ones that pretend pain doesn't exist. They're the ones that show us how to survive it, how to transform it, how to let it make us not bitter, but brave.